Well, that's a pretty good amount of rain. Hey friends, it's Heather at Bush Puppy Farm. Hope you're doing well. We have a couple of days in between rainstorms, so I wanted to come out to the farm and check. We had really high winds at the house, which really messed up my rose trellis. And I can see that the landscape fabric over one of the ranunculus beds has come up. So we're gonna repair that. Just walk around, make sure nothing's seriously damaged. Looked like everything that was weighted down is still there, so that's good. But we had really high winds, like 40 to 50 mile an hour gusts. So I would not be surprised if I saw some damage out here, but so far, looking through the gate, everything looks good. So let's go check it out. First, let's see how much rain is in the rain barrel. One thing I definitely need to do is clean this off. So I rigged this system up last year. Dumps there. This snakes up here to this gutter, which gets filled by the rain coming off of the roof. Okay, we ended the season with the rain, with the water right around here. And now we are almost up to the 225 mark. So yeah, that's pretty good. This is a 275 gallon IBC tote, and I leave it under this black tarp so that no algae will grow in there. I use that water in buckets when I harvest, and for mixing up, fertilizer and stuff like that, because it's rainwater, so it doesn't have any chlorine or anything like that that will kill any of the good microbes that I put into like compost tea and things like that. So it's nice that we have plenty of water to get us through next year for that. But we're getting more rain coming. So I know that thing will fill up and we'll be all good. All right, let's walk the rows real quick and just kind of make sure everything's looking okay. Okay, so our straw flower, still looking pretty good. I need to, there's hardly any weeds, which is fantastic. I do need to come through here and pull a few, and this is all ranunculus down here. So looking really good. The straw is doing a great job of beating back any weeds. So that's nice. This is still a mess over here. It's gonna be a while because this is so wet. We're not gonna be able to dig this to do these beds, but we'll get there. And this is the landscape fabric that I need to replace. That's going to be tricky because now that the ranunculus has come up, and the only reason the landscape fabric is there is that it keeps the weeds down. It's a lot less of weeding for me. But since it's off now, what I might do instead, because I do have more straw, I think I'll just cover that bed with straw because we're going to continue to get wind, and we can just use this landscape fabric on the further beds as we build them, because I think it's going to be challenging trying to get the landscape fabric back on and pulling the plants up through all the holes. So it might just be easier to go ahead and put down the straw, because that's been doing a good job of weed control over here. So here we have more ranunculus. This was Cynoglossum in here, but a lot of it is just gone. And that's okay. I have a second succession coming, but you see, I do need to come in here and weed. This bed also could benefit from some straw, because there's lots of grasses popping up. Definitely need to get those out of there, but it's not too bad. It's not terrible. And then we've got a few more ranunculus here, and the rest of this is feverfew. Looking good. And then over here under this screen, which is here because the birds like to eat these especially, is snapdragons. Definitely need to weed in here too. There's some grasses, not anything too major. I'm not super worried. It's looking okay, but it would be nice to get that done today if possible. We've got some status in here and more ranunculus. It's mostly the status that the birds really, really love to go after, so I have to really protect those. Okay, another bed with straw. This is Daucus. Chocolate lace flower goes up, and there is some grass in here, so I need to come through and pull some of these up. But this is nothing compared to last year. And then we've got some ranunculus here. This is a weed. Oh no, that's ranunculus. Wow, it's a different variety. The leaves look very different. Okay, more ranunculus up to about here, and then we've got Amimagus, and then over here is the Orlea, and you can tell it is just looking fantastic. Very, very healthy, nice and green, and no gophers because they can't get in there. Lined those beds with hardware cloth. I love it. So all this Orlea looking great. And our stock is looking really good too. I weeded this bed heavily a couple weeks ago. I mean, there's one that needs to come out today. But it's looking good. Stock is a brassica, so it's a member of the broccoli family. And so it is edible, and it smells actually really nice. And so sometimes the birds get to this before they flower. So far we seem in good shape. Okay, so the ranunculus bed. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna pull this off and come in here with straw. That'll be much easier. And before I lay it down, I'll get the grass out of there. And then let's go check on everything down here. So the tulip bed looking good. This is crazy. That has never happened before. Wow. So last year, these labels stayed visible until like May. Look at that. So I'll have to go back and watch the video to figure out which of these, which these varieties are. There's some grass popping up. I don't care. This bed is going to, get all harvested when the tulips are done, and then I can reset it for the next crop for summer. The bed that will be the dahlia bed, there's no dahlias in it right now, looking good. This is a cover crop of buckwheat. It didn't come up as much as I wanted it to, and there's some grasses in here, but that's okay. It's basically just going to get mowed down in the spring and turned into this soil to feed the soil, and then we'll plant our dahlias. And then here, sweet pea trellis, and some of them are coming up. You can see that little guy right there, which is awesome. We planted some, direct sowed some a couple weeks ago. And then there were already a lot of seeds in here that had fallen from this year's crops. So it'll be interesting to see what varieties pop up. Okay, this is the other big giant mess. All of these need to come out. Basically the roots are gonna stay in, and I'm going to trim off the top. I'm gonna see if we can overwinter all of these mums, which I think we can. And if they'll come back in the late spring, start putting on growth for us. So that's another job, but it is so wet. I'm gonna do the weeding up in the upper beds first. We'll worry about this later. And then we have daffodil bed 1, daffodil bed 2. Again, I don't care about the grass in these beds because the only thing going in them is daffodils, and that's what's in them now. Once we harvest the daffodils, they're planted close enough together that they'll choke out the grasses, especially as the leaves start to brown and everything. So I'm not worried about it. And this is our other ranunculus bed, the final ones that we got planted. This is the Romance Maritime mix. A number of them coming up, and hopefully doing okay. Although, nope, I thought I was seeing like predation on the leaves, but I'm not. Ranunculus are members of the buttercup family. And so again, these are another plant that birds might want to go for. If I start noticing that, then I'll just cover this with a screen, the insect screen, because birds can't get through that obviously, and they can't get stuck in it like they do in bird netting. So yeah, I'll just do that if I notice there's problems. Okay, so survey done. I'm really glad not to see, apparently they didn't get super high winds here. However, it's kind of nice because there's this big hill right here behind, on the south side of the farm. And then we have the road and another giant hill. If we're getting winds coming from the west, this road is a corridor, and yeah, there'll be some damage, but these were coming from the south, and so we did pretty good. Okay, I'm gonna get started fixing this ranunculus bed with straw, get the landscape fabric pulled back completely. It's just gonna keep coming off. It'll all stay down when we get all the beds done and have them all tacked down together. Then it's like much harder to pull that up. So, I'm not surprised that this keeps coming up, but because it's come up twice, I don't want to have to keep fighting with it. So I'm going to go ahead and fix this problem now. Okay, 2 beds done. I don't have a whole lot of time out here today. Aiden is in final exams this week and I need to go pick him up in like 15 minutes. So 2 more beds to go. No big deal. I think I do want to get another couple bales of straw and just rely on that as my weed barrier because it's working really well. So I'll have to order those because I can't get them locally, which is really strange. But I can, but it's not that local. It's about an hour and a half drive to get it one way. And I just feel like it's better for me to spend my time doing other things and just order it. So, all right, for the rest of the afternoon, we're actually going to be at home in the home garden. I need to get a whole bunch of wood chips and fix up the chicken run. With all the rain, all the wood chips are saturated and they can't dust bathe or anything like that. So I need to put down more carbon in there and set up a new pan for them for dust bathing and just kind of clean out their coop, all that kind of stuff. When it's pouring rain like it was the other day, they just stay in the coop all day. And so then all that poop accumulates. It's really disgusting. The coop itself is a design by Justin Rhodes. It is a Chickshaw, the mini me. So it's 4x4 feet. And we built that last year. And so it has 1 inch hardware cloth in the bottom, which not only keeps the predators out, but it also allows all the poop to fall through for the most part. But when they're in there for many, many more hours than just overnight, it tends to accumulate. So I just need to get in there and scrape it out. So I need to get my hard rake so I can move stuff around in there because a regular rake won't do it. And then go get a whole bunch of wood chips. So I'll see you back at the house. So the place where I was going to go to get wood chips, they're out. So I'll have to try again tomorrow. Maybe somewhere else, call around. But anyway, I'm waiting in line to get Aiden to pick him up. One thing I forgot to say, you might be wondering why I was hand weeding, like literally pulling out individual weeds with my hands. There are two big reasons. One, there weren't that many. Two, when my soil, which is very clay, is so full of water, weeding with a hoe, whether that's a hand hoe or a stand-up hoe, whatever, tends to, basically it just forms like big giant clods of clay soil, and it pulls up everything. So not just the weeds, but like I risk pulling up all of my seedlings as well. So when we have this much water in the soil, which is all of our winter and into early spring, I don't use the hoe because we don't have enough dry days for the soil to dry out enough for me to use it. And last year it was challenging because we had so much grass in those beds. This year so far, it's a lot better. However, we just started getting rain, so it might get worse. But I feel much better about it this year. And if I keep up with the weeding like once a week, then those big giant grass clumps don't have a chance to really take off. So that's why I was weeding by hand. Okay, so I'm still going to work in the home garden this afternoon. There's a bunch of stuff that needs to get cleaned up. There are still tomatoes out there. I mean, it's like the plant is dead. It's not producing anymore. I need to get that out of the ground. Just want to do some like general tidying. Not cutting back any perennials or anything like that. That happens for me in like February timeframe, because then they start putting on new growth and I don't have to worry. We will still have some frosts, but it takes them a while to get going. If I do it now, I risk really burning a lot of that new tissue. So yeah, so it won't be any cutting back of perennials, but I just want to tidy up. I also was not able to get rebar. So wonderful viewer, thank you so much for saying this in the comments. Same thing happened to her with her rose trellis at some point. And what they did was they got really long rebar and drove it deep into the ground and then attached the trellis to that rebar. And I am totally going to do that because that way I don't have to replace the trellis. And mostly the hard part about that is I'd have to disentangle so many canes, cut it back, way, way back. It would really set the whole plant back quite a bit. So I'm going to do that. I just have to find a place that has long enough rebar. The place I went today, they only had 3-foot lengths. That is not enough. I need at least 6 or 7, maybe 8, because that way I can drive it into the ground 3 or 4 feet and it will keep the trellis upright. All right, I'm going to pick up Aiden, go have some lunch, and then we'll get started in the home garden. Well, that's about all the cleaning I'm going to do out here today. My hands are freezing. So there's still lots left in these beds intentionally. So in the big bed here, we've got artichokes down there. We've got some mustards that'll get huge, some onions, Sweet Alyssum. And then there's nothing through here because this was all squash and stuff. This is all like weeds for the most part. And this is where I'm going to set the chickens free and then, you know, in a couple of weeks. And they can just pick through here. They won't bother the artichoke. In fact, I'll probably rope that off, tie up the leaves for while they're in here. But they won't, I mean, they might eat some of the mustard, but I'm not too worried about that. So basically I want them to pick around through the weeds, pull some stuff up. They'll eat some bugs and have fun in here. And then over here we have like lots of seedlings you can see. Those are all probably Nigella seeds because there was Nigella there. There's still a few left and they just dropped all their seeds. That will all get, you know, I'll hoe all that up. We'll put a fresh layer of compost. The same thing for this whole bed. These are U-shaped beds. I've got one right here and this one here. So in the spring, all of this will get a layer of compost and there'll be new wood chips in the aisles and stuff and in the pathway here just to kind of tidy up and freshen up everything after all the rains we're going to have. And then this bed, we actually grew some really good cauliflower, but the rats did start getting to it. And then when I went to harvest what was left, it was loaded with aphids, like so much that there'd be no way to clean them up. So the chickens are enjoying those right now, but the onions are still in here and they're fine. They'll be good to go. Once this dries out a little bit, I'll be able to fold it up and put it away, although there are big holes in it from the rodents getting to it. I cut back the dahlia stalks that were in here. There are dahlias in here that come up every year, and I don't do a whole lot to tend to them. They're in between the fruit trees. They just do their thing. If they come back, that's great. If not, no big deal. So fruit trees won't get pruned. Actually, these guys probably won't get pruned at all, except maybe this is elderberry. I might cut back a little bit here. But these are still pretty young, and I don't want to take a bunch of growth off of them, except for that one big tall stem there on that Santa Rosa plum. So everything's going to get more wood chips. The nice thing about all the leaves falling, I leave them here in between a sandwich of wood chips. They'll decompose and they'll create more nice soil under there. These plants right here where the tomatoes were, these are Eryngium, and I probably will pull these up, but right now they're feeding the soil. Same thing with these marigolds, which are really getting hit by frost, so they're starting to go back. But the longer I can keep living things in the soil, feeding the soil microbiome, the better. And, I won't be able to keep them in forever because I'll need this space for spring and summer crops, but for now they're going to stay there. So what's left is this bed that has some beautiful mustards in it. There's a second succession down here. They're much younger. And then these zinnias, which are, from the summer. The only reason they're still here is that they have seed on them that eventually will dry out and I will harvest. I've already harvested some. Then we'll have to put more compost in here to level everything back up, as well as, wood chips around the edge, all that kind of stuff. And then more compost here and more wood chips. So I think that's gonna pretty much do us for now. The whole mess here with the trellis, hopefully I'll get rebar so I can sink it in these two sides and tie it up, and then this pollinator patch will get dealt with in like February, but you see how much stuff I have to cut back. It's usually a pretty quick job. It's not so bad. We do have more radish and carrots here, which are coming along. And this bed is mostly just celery and some other stuff. I'm not gonna worry about doing anything in these beds. As you can see, it's shaded here. This time of year, these trees really block out most of the sun for much of the day. So things in this garden just don't grow that well in the winter. And that's fine. I'm fine with that. It's kind of nice to have a little bit of a break. Also coming up, all of these, there's grape as well as blackberries in here. This all needs to get pruned. The blueberries need to be pruned. Look at that beautiful color still. So there's a whole lot of work to be done here before spring starts, but we're still not there yet. Again, I don't want to risk frost damage on new growth. This older growth, the blackberries, they can pretty much handle it. Our blackberries don't defoliate in the winter because we don't get cold enough for long enough. But the grapes usually do. So I've got beds here that have been amended with fresh compost. They're just kind of waiting for planting in the spring. And so that's good. But I do think I'm going to have to get a truckload delivered of compost and a truckload of wood chips, because I need to put wood chips down everywhere in this garden again. And that's a lot of square feet to cover. So I definitely want to get a truckload. Also, that'll go in with the chicken run, and I can actually justify that shipping price, or the delivery fee, by knowing how much, if I get 10 yards, it's a lot of wood chips to move, but a lot of that will go in the chicken run. That's like, so I don't have to buy bagged for that. So yeah, it's just all about planning, figuring out exactly what I need and when I can have it delivered. That probably won't happen until January, because we're starting on Friday. We're going to start getting rain every day for about 5 days. And then it's the holidays, it's Christmas. And then 2 days after Christmas, we fly to Colorado for a week. And then we come back and we take Dylan back to school, and it's just everything get crazy ramped up. So there's no point in having a bunch of wood chips delivered before January when we start back to work. So, but I am looking forward to that. I like that project because when I'm finished with it, everything looks so good. It looks so tidy and fresh and ready for the new season. It just makes me excited. And then I get super stoked about growing things again. So, okay, that's going to be it for me today, you guys. Thank you for hanging out with me. I hope that you have a wonderful time in your garden, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.